Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Marvin's Room. Thank you guys, as always, for tuning in. And to the new subscribers, welcome to the channel. Listen, I have a great video today for you guys, getting ready to dive into attraction versus assumption, because I believe this is an important piece of law of attraction or law of assumption that some of you may have not realized, and understanding that LOA, in my opinion, is not linear. For a lot of people, it's not one size fits all. For a lot of people, it's so many different people in the world, so many different vibrations, so many different energies all going on. And I kind of wanted to break down attraction versus assumption, in a sense, versus kind of like what Abraham Hicks talks about versus what Neville talks about, because they definitely go hand in hand together and are very, very similar. But also to kind of break down and talk about some of the things that you may be experiencing right now on your manifesting journey, whether you're trying to manifest a specific person, new friends, old friends, etc., etc. Now, when it comes to law of attraction, law of assumption, I think a lot of us that have been studying this for a while understand that the assumption of something is what ultimately leads to the attraction of it happening into your life. So if you assume, as Neville says, if you're assuming that you are, for instance, wealthy, rich, or if you're assuming that everybody loves you, if you're assuming that life is easy, or if you're assuming that relationships are easy, whatever, that in turn is going to attract to you the circumstances that match that assumption. I think we all have that rudimentary understanding of law of attraction versus law of assumption, right? But something that I don't think a lot of you guys may think about is that who you are right now versus who you were last month versus who you were 6 months ago versus who you were last year, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, you're at a different level. You're at a different frequency. You're at a different vibration. And this is where Abraham Hicks comes in and starts talking about, frequency and vibration, because I heard different people in different forums when I used to look up that stuff say things like, oh, I don't believe in, law of attraction. I don't believe in energy. I don't believe in vibration. But to deny that, in my opinion, is to deny science. Everything is alive. Energy is alive. So when I hear somebody say that vibration isn't real or energy isn't real, I kind of discredit them right away. From hearing whatever opinion they have to say, because like I said, you're basically saying science is a lie, when science has proven that that energy is real, that nothing rests. Even when you look at a solid object and you zoom in on that solid object, you will see that there's little vibrations of that object going back and forth when you look at it through a microscope, or when you zoom in on it as close as you can possibly get. So understand, everything is alive. Nothing rests. Everything is energy. Energy is constantly moving. Energy is constantly transferring, excuse me. So with that being said, I think a big mistake a lot of you guys could be making with your manifestation, which could be a potential reason why it's been hard for your specific person to come back, whoever that may be, or for you to get a specific person, if it's a new specific person, or whatever the case, or if you're trying to maybe get a bunch of specific people back, like a group of friends, if you're trying to reconcile something, just whatever the case may be, understand and think in terms of energy. Everything is energy. And this conversation also kind of intertwines in with this whole free will debate, because I know a lot of people in LOA love to have this discussion about free will does exist, free will doesn't exist, wherever you're at on the side of the fence. But I want you guys to understand something. Like I was saying a little bit earlier, who you were last year, 9 times out of 10, it should not be the same person you are this year. Now, if you are that same person that you were last year, if you are that same person now, then guess what? Your experiences are most likely going to be the same. Why? Because your assumptions are the same, just like Neville talked about in his books, Living in the Assumption. So understand, in order for your future to change, in order for your present to change, to get better, you have to stop living in those past assumptions of whatever it is that you had about a person, place, or thing, or whatever the case may be. But understand that if you are trying to manifest a new life, if you're trying to manifest a new relationship, or if you're trying to manifest the old relationship back, understand, are you unconsciously separating the two and having you go this way and potentially your desires go that way? Because again, I don't think a lot of you guys realizing is when you're living in the assumption of a new state, you're essentially creating a new character, right? And so the new character that you are becoming, the new person, whoever that person may be, the new person that you're becoming, you're not gonna have the old mentality. You're not gonna think, act, behave, etc. the way that you used to think, act, behave. So what does that mean in return? The people that you used to associate with are going to naturally start dropping off, falling off from your life, and you're not even, it's going to happen in such an effortless way. You're not even going to realize it. You're going to wake up one day and be like, oh wow, I wonder what happened to such and such. We used to talk all the time, now we no longer talk. It's just the natural order of law, how when you start to elevate and you start to assume and see yourself in a different light, in a different way, those people are no longer on that same vibrational frequency as Abraham Hicks likes to talk about. They're no longer on that vibrational frequency that you are on. So understand they're going to drop off, and understand this is how it's probably going to be with anybody you deal with a specific person, whether it's a romantic relationship, whether it's not a romantic relationship, whether it's a business partnership, whether it's whatever. And I believe also too, this is where the free will thing comes into place, because as you guys start to make the assumption, like I said, you're assuming you're going this way. Your assumption may be going this way, right? Of whatever it is, of this new person, this new idea that you are thinking about, that you want to become. It's going this way. But at the same time, the people in your life, they are also going the opposite way, because they're not raising on your level of vibration. But also too, you don't have the awareness to also, or you're not saying affirmations specifically to work on those people, to help bring them up to your level. So for instance, you may be saying affirmations like, I am amazing, I am first best, I am loved, blah, 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 blah. But sometimes in relation to what other people, those affirmations are doing are working good for you. But what are those affirmations doing for other people? Do your affirmations allow other people to look at you in this new light? Or does the affirmations that you're saying, do they allow those people to still look at you as the old person in the old light that you were? Because understand how everyone is you pushed out. Understand people in your past, they also have an image and an idea of how they view you, which is why you always show up a certain way in their experience. Just like you show up a certain way in their experience, that person also shows up a certain way in your experience, because you've been assuming them to behave a certain way for so long. So understand, if you're elevating and you're saying these affirmations about yourself, but you're not focused on also bringing those people up with you, and saying affirmations specifically to help bring those people up with you, to help change those people, to see those people in a new light, understand most likely there's going to be a separation. Most likely you're going to rise. Most likely these people are not going to rise with you. And this is where that whole saying comes from, when you hear people say things like, when people get famous and they say things like, oh, well, he changed, he was one way before he got rich and famous. And then now that he's rich and famous, now I see him differently. I don't see him the same. He's acted funny. He's different. He changed. But a lot of times it could be that maybe that person really did change. Maybe that person did have such a self-concept that he rose on such a high vibrational frequency that the people that he was down here with before, those people no longer could meet him and understand him, because he rose to such a high consciousness that these people had no choice but to stay down here. And again, this goes to the whole free will thing, because you weren't focused on seeing them, helping them, etc. And if you think about it, like even somebody like, when you go back into the biblical times, even people like Jesus, I remember in the story in the Bible, there was in the Bible, Jesus couldn't perform miracles in his hometown. He couldn't perform miracles in his hometown because the people didn't believe. So when I hear stories like that and I think about that, I think you can control your reality and you can control maybe other people's reality to a certain extent, but I don't think you can control people's reality to a certain extent to how people like to try to bend the law of attraction, bend the law of assumption to try to get people to conform. And you see these conform videos, get them to say this, get them to say that, because I really truly believe on some level, all of us have free will. And I think about somebody like Jesus, if he couldn't perform miracles in his hometown because the people didn't believe, you think about, okay, how can these other people come up to match you on your level if you're sitting up here rising to a level that most people can't understand or will never take the time to get to? Because as you're doing your work to become a better person, to become a better manifester and all of the above, are these people that are down here, are they doing the same thing? Can they come up to meet you? And a lot of times this is where the separation happens. This is where SPs fall apart. This is where relationships fall apart. This is where businesses fall apart. It's because you're manifesting to become one thing and they're not manifesting to become one thing. They're staying down here. So I want you guys to pay attention to this specifically if you may find yourself in a season in your life where you're losing friends, left and right, or you're losing your specific person. This really could be as a result of the fact that you're elevating, becoming a new person, and they're not elevating to become a new person. But also, too, this could be a result of you elevating to become a new person, but not necessarily saying and doing affirmations on bringing that person or a group of people, old friends, etc., up with you. You're saying affirmations only for yourself, but those affirmations you're not seeing your old specific person new, better, healed, and elevating with you. You're not seeing your old friends that you might have talked to new, old, and elevating with you. For instance, you may not want to smoke weed no more, right? You may not want to do certain things. You may not want to play video games anymore. And so you've elevated past this new image of you that you've created in your mind, that you're assuming who you are. No longer smokes weed, no longer plays video games all day, no longer goes out to all the bars every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday night. But your friends are still down here operating on that frequency, right? Because they're still in that vibration. So you're seeing yourself new, healed, whatever, as this new person, but you're not seeing your friends new, healed, etc. with you. So I would highly recommend to start saying some affirmations and doing things, different things that can help your friends elevate to that level as well. So you can stop seeing your friends or a specific person, whoever it may be, as the old person or group of people, and start seeing them as the new people to help them elevate. Because as you know, as Neville talks about, everyone is you pushed out. So if that's the case, then that means you have to stop telling the old story about this group of people and group of friends and start telling the new story about them the same way you're telling the new story about yourself. So that way, as you elevate, they also too can elevate. Because this is a huge mistake I think I see a lot of people making, is they're so focused on their own self-concept. But what you don't realize is the more you focus on that new self-concept, the more you're going to rise above people that don't match that new self-concept. And you're going to start to attract, again, assumption and attracting. The more you assume to be this new person, you're going to start to attract new people in your life. You're going to start to attract people that fit whoever this new assumption of you are. So what does that mean by law? That means by law, you're going to have to get rid of those old people that were down here, those old assumptions of friends and people you associated with. They're no longer going to be in your life. They're going to disappear. They're going to be eradicated. You're going to start to fit new people that match that new description. So if you do want to bring old people with you from, your old friends group or relationships, whatever case may be, then you have to understand and elevate and start to incorporate, affirmations that help rise them so you can see them in a new light and rise them up with you as you rise on that elevator to the top of manifestation. All right. This has been another episode of Marvin's Room, yours truly. Hopefully you got some gems from today's video. I will see you guys next time in the next YouTube.